Let me start with two simple words. Thank you. Thank you for turning out in record numbers in November election. Thank you for the faith you put in me and Vice President-elect Harris. And thank you for standing strong to make sure your voices were heard, your votes were counted, and counted, and counted again. I'm starting to feel like I won Georgia 3 times. I have to say, it feels pretty good. You know, I think all of you just taught Donald Trump a lesson. In this election, Georgia wasn't going to be bullied. Georgia wasn't going to be silenced. Georgia certainly wasn't going to stand by and let Donald Trump or the state of Texas or anyone else come in here and toss out your votes. But you know who didn't stand by? You know who did nothing while Trump, Texas, and others were trying to wipe out every single one of the almost 5 million votes you had cast here in Georgia in November? Your 2 Republican senators. They stood by. In fact, your 2 Republican senators fully embraced what Texas was telling the Supreme Court. They fully embraced nullifying nearly 5 million Georgia votes. You might want to remember that come January 5th. Now, I'll try to be generous here in the spirit of the season. Maybe your senators were just confused. Maybe they think they represent Texas. Well, if you want to do the bidding of Texas, you should be running in Texas, not in Georgia. Because you know what? You got a couple of folks running for the United States Senate in this state who aren't confused at all. John Ossoff, Raphael Warnock, they're running to represent Georgia. Georgia. I need 2 senators from this state who want to get something done, not 2 senators who are just going to get in the way. Because look, getting nothing done just hurts Georgia. Look at what's happening right now in the Congress. The United States Senate should have passed the coronavirus and economic relief package months ago. People are hurting. Millions out of work. Small businesses closing. People are struggling to pay their rent, worried that after Christmas they'll be thrown out before New Year's. Concerned about paying their mortgage, over $10 million. Putting food on the table has become a Herculean task for so many. And what's the United States Senate doing? Nothing. People need help, and they need it right now. States like Georgia need help to keep firefighters, cops, first responders, educators on the job. We need immediate funding for testing and vaccine distribution. We need to get money into people's pockets right away. Look, don't get me wrong. I hope Congress passes a package right away. But it should support firefighters, it should. Educators, first responders. It should also support the testing and vaccinations we need. It should deliver direct cash payments to people right away when they badly need to stay on top. Your 2 Republican senators are not supporting that kind of package. Both John, Raphael do.
That if Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue want to be doing the bidding of Texas, they should be running in Texas. This comes after Loeffler and Perdue signed onto a Texas-led lawsuit seeking to invalidate the election results in 4 other states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and of course, Georgia. Meaning that Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue supported an effort to allow Texas to invalidate the votes of the people of their own state. In case you were wondering just how much stock these 2 place in their own constituents. In reality, the only stock they're concerned with is that's in their own portfolios. Both Loeffler and Perdue made millions in stock trades at the beginning of the pandemic after a senator's only coronavirus briefing, making 2 of the country's richest elected officials even richer. And yet those same people haven't budged an inch when it comes to getting direct relief to Americans who, 9 months into this pandemic, are in desperate need of another round of stimulus checks. In other words, while Loeffler and Perdue are content to use the pandemic to make themselves millionaires another time over, they're in no rush to get a dime to regular Americans whose last stimulus payment was in March. The GOP motto, money for me, none for thee. But my favorite part of all of this is Biden's swipe, saying that maybe the reason that Loeffler and Perdue signed on to the Texas-led lawsuit to invalidate the results of their own state was because they were confused. You might remember that the entire GOP spent months wailing until they were blue in the face about how Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, how he didn't know what day of the week it was, how he didn't know how to spell his own name. They fell over themselves trying to convince people that he was senile and lost and, yes, confused. So there's some poetic justice in Joe Biden being able to stand here now as the president-elect of the United States, having won the election by 7 million votes and an electoral college margin of 306 to 232, and say that, hey, maybe Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue were just, confused. Now, as for the upcoming election in Georgia, here's what's at stake. As I just mentioned, the direct relief payments. We've already seen how willing the Republican-led Senate was to issue direct relief to the American people. The HEROES Act has been sitting on McConnell's desk since May, which includes $1,200 checks to every eligible American, and yet he's refused to bring it up for a vote. The only way to get direct relief to Americans is to vote for Ossoff and Warnock. If you want a check, it's just a matter of voting for it. Aside from that, the Democrat-led House just decriminalized marijuana at the federal level, and along the same lines, the only way it'll come up for a vote is to ensure that McConnell is no longer majority leader. So if you think that a drug that's safer than alcohol and safer than cigarettes should be decriminalized, if you want justice for the majority black and brown prison population owed largely to a failed war on drugs, then it's just a matter of voting for it. If you want a $15 minimum wage, an issue that is so popular that Floridians voted for it by a staggering 13 points more than even Joe Biden, then Ossoff and Warnock have to be seated. The only way Americans will be able to earn a livable wage is if Republicans lose their majority. So if you believe that people should be able to put food on their table and pay their rent after working full time, then it's just a matter of voting for it. If you care about passing robust climate change legislation so that your kids and grandkids have clean air to breathe and water to drink, so that they're not dealing with thousand-year storms multiple times a year and coastal flooding and drought and wildfires, then we need a Democratic Senate. The Republicans have already proven that their priority is propping up fossil fuel companies who continue to pollute the planet, even as we're forced to spend billions upon billions to deal with the devastating effects of climate change. So if you want to save this planet while we still have the chance, then it's just a matter of voting for it. If you want to protect and expand healthcare in this country, then Republicans cannot be in control. They voted more than 70 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, which is the only law we have that protects coverage for those with pre-existing conditions and which allows those under 26 years old to be on their parents' healthcare plan. The GOP is hell-bent on returning to the days where Americans were at the whim of a predatory insurance company. Democrats are looking to ensure that more Americans can be covered, not less. So if protecting that coverage is important to you, it's just a matter of voting for it. And look, I could go on and on, but the point is simple. So much of what's important to us hinges on electing Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock to the United States Senate. What we'll get if the Senate remains in Republican hands is more of exactly what we have right now, which is to say record obstructionism and deference to the ultra-wealthy and corporations. We need an agenda for the actual people of this country, an agenda that has widespread support, an agenda that actually helps us in our day-to-day lives, that protects our health, our wallets, and our planet. And it's not a pipe dream. It is one election away. If the people of Georgia can turn out in the same numbers they turned out for Joe Biden, then we will win. We can protect our healthcare, our climate, our wages, reproductive rights, civil rights, and have the wherewithal to care for our families. It is just a matter of voting for it. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.